my first question, I just want to say who's who. At the far end, in elegant black, is Andres Chaparro.
All right.
Who is the artist who has his paintings and his collages here.
Beautiful. They're beautiful.
Next up is Alice Soye, who has her charcoal drawings.
Nice.
Omar Karim, whose photos
Omar.
are those.
Woo, Omar!
Omar's are those photos with the gray matting. Mitch Seidel, whose photos have the white matting.
Yeah.
And Ken Franklin is the last photographer who I mentioned earlier. So I'm just going to start with a couple of general questions. So, what was the first experience for each of you that got you hooked on jazz? And if you can grab that. Did everybody hear the question?
Yeah.
My first experience with jazz, talking to David about this a little earlier, 1978, I'm flipping through radio channels, and up to that point, I had a very eclectic appreciation for music. I've never really heard jazz. I heard everything. Soul, Latin soul, I was into Earth, Wind, and Fire. But I'm flipping through radio channels and came across this very foreign sound that woke my spirit up, man. I remember running to the record store the next day and asking the salesperson, and I was almost embarrassed to ask. I'm like, nobody's gonna know this. I'm gonna ask. I need to know what this was. I need to have this out. So I go to him and I said, listen, man, I'm looking for an album. I just heard this song last night. It's this guy called John Coltrane, Love Supreme. And, he looked at me like, what you know about John Coltrane, Love Supreme? And I think that was what set me off, and that was my initiation and my first musical experience with beautiful sound.
I come from classical music, classical piano, so I was very moved by harmony, very young. And then I had my piano teacher will introduce me to Ricky Lee Jones one day, and I love the freedom of the voice and so I'm very, very moved. So I started to write songs, and I started to work with great musicians and more connecting with jazz, like Sylvain Luc, a French guitarist. So and I had a feeling to found this. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where I should start.
Yes.
You're doing great.
Oh my, can you help me please? Sorry. Say it in French.
All right.
Yeah, I should speak in French.
Well, my first experience was always. My parents, they had jazz was around all the time. And other kinds of music.
Can you just bring the microphone closer?
Closer?
Yes.
Is that better?
That's much better.
It's not too deep? Oh, okay.
That's what she said.
And we had music in the house all the time. We had one of those old Victrolas. You had to wind up and put the records on, And we had the blues. jazz, Louis Armstrong, different people. So the music has been around me all my life, you know, and that's how I learned to appreciate it, you know.
All right.
All right. Well,
So nice.
I don't know. I guess when I was a teenager, going to high school in New Jersey, a good friend of mine, his father was a music teacher in the next town over, and he had played with the Ray McKinley band, and was sort of considered himself a subversive jazz educator, because there weren't any back then. So he was always fighting battles with the school board, who wanted the marching band to be big time, whereas he was teaching his kids super sax arrangements. So anyway, I knew his son. We went to high school together, and his son was a big jazz guy, and we'd go over to his house sometime, and he put a jazz record on, and somehow I wasn't really quite ready to hear Eric Dolphy. But I did. But he listened to this radio station called WRVR.
Yeah.
That's right. And so what I did was, I just set my clock alarm, my radio, to WRVR when I was in high school, and every morning I'd be waking up to Max Cole or someone like that, and they'd be playing this jazz stuff. Now I was already a fan of older big band stuff out of curiosity for what my parents listened to, but the record collection in our household was not extremely hip. You know, a lot of Theodore Bikel, a Lou Monte or two, a few Henry Mancini records. Actually, and go back and listen to your Henry Mancini. Mancini wrote some really hip stuff. And but the jazz stuff, I listened to RVR, and after a little while it took. So I think that one of the first jazz records I got was when, and this sort of makes me sort of a kid in the bunch, and that the Savoy stuff was just being reissued. And so I went to the nearby record store, and I got the 2-record Bird the Master Takes. And then after that, there was some other stuff in the bin, the Dial recordings. So between the Savoy and the Dial recordings, before I even got to college, I already had a nice idea of what this stuff was all about. And then listening to the Dial stuff, I looked at who was playing with whom, and I checked out who was doing that.
From the sublime to the mundane. Somebody has a Chevrolet parked on Dixon Lane, a VHD, DHD,